The rain hammered the pavement like 1,000 tiny accusations, turning the streets of Brooklyn into a slick, unforgiving mirror of Thomas's unraveling life. He stood there, drenched to the bone, fists clenched around the crumpled rejection letter from the gallery. Another dream deferred, another door slammed in his face. "Fuck this city," he muttered, voice cracking like thunder. But it was the ache in his chest that drowned him out, the one that whispered he wasn't just failing at art, he was failing at being himself. Across the avenue, in the warm glow of a corner dive bar called the Rusty Anchor, Christopher nursed a whiskey neat. His tie loosened just enough to betray the exhaustion of another 14-hour day at the firm. The place was a relic, faded neon signs buzzing like trapped fireflies. The jukebox crooning some forgotten Springsteen track about broken highways and haunted hearts. He wasn't here for the ambience. He was here to forget the sterile perfection of his Upper East Side brownstone, the wife who kissed his cheek like it was a contractual obligation, the life he'd built brick by polished brick to keep the world from seeing the cracks. Thomas shoved through the door, shaking off the rain like a dog, his soaked flannel shirt clinging to his lean frame, dark hair plastered to his forehead in rebellious curls. The bartender, a grizzled vet named Sal with tattoos snaking up his arms like old regrets, slid him a beer without asking. "Rough night, kid," Sal grunted, eyeing the water pooling at Thomas's boots. "You have no idea," Thomas replied, his voice a low rumble laced with that Midwestern drawl he could never quite shake, even after 2 years of pounding these sidewalks. He was 25, fresh off a Greyhound from Des Moines, chasing canvases and anonymity in the city that promised to swallow you whole. But tonight, the swallow felt more like a choke. Christopher's gaze flicked up from his glass, unbidden, caught by the newcomer. The way Thomas's green eyes scanned the room like he was mapping escape routes, the subtle flex of his jaw as he bit back whatever storm brewed inside. There was something raw there, unguarded. A spark in the dim light that made Christopher's pulse stutter. He shouldn't look. He never did. But the whiskey burned warm in his veins, loosening the knots he'd tied around his secrets. Thomas dropped onto a stool 2 seats down, the beer bottle sweating in his grip. He took a long pull, the cold bitterness grounding him, but it did nothing for the hollow throb in his gut. Art school dropout, barista by day, dreamer by fractured night. New York was supposed to be freedom, not this endless grind of not quite good enough. And beneath it all, the quieter fear. The one that kept him swiping right on apps he deleted the next morning. The one that made his skin crawl at family dinners back home, dodging mom's pointed questions about that nice girl from church. Sal leaned over the bar, wiping a rag across the scarred wood. "Heard the gallery turned you down again. Tough break, Tommy boy. But hey, persistence is the New York way." Thomas snorted, a bitter laugh escaping. Persistence? Or just masochism? His eyes drifted, landing on the man in the tailored suit, the one with salt and pepper hair cropped close, laugh lines etched deep around hazel eyes that held too much world weariness for 38. The guy was staring, subtly, but Thomas knew that look. Hunger masked as curiosity. Christopher caught himself, looked away too late. Heat crept up his neck, the kind that had no business in a married man's vocabulary. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Elena. Home late? Dinner's cold. And guilt twisted like a knife. Elena, with her yoga-toned grace and boardroom poise, the perfect partner for the perfect life. They'd met at Columbia Law, bonded over torts and takeout, built a fortress against the chaos. But lately, the fortress felt like a cage, the bars forged from his own silence. He stood, tossing a 20 on the bar, but as he passed Thomas's stool, their shoulders brushed. A spark, electric and accidental. Thomas turned, green eyes locking on Hazel. "Watch it suit," Thomas said, half smirk, half challenge, but there was no real bite, just exhaustion and something softer, unspoken. Christopher paused, rain from Thomas's sleeve dampening his cuff. "Sorry. Bad night for both of us, I guess." His voice was smooth, East Coast polish with a hint of old money, but the words hung heavy, laced with an invitation he hadn't meant to extend. Thomas tilted his head, studying him, the faint stubble shadowing a strong jaw, the wedding band glinting like a warning. Yeah? What's your poison? Corner office blues. Something like that. Christopher's lips quirked, a rare genuine smile cracking through. Buy you a drink? Call it karma for the shoulder check. Thomas hesitated, the rejection letter burning a hole in his pocket. Why not? One drink couldn't unravel the night more than it already was. Sure. Why the hell not? They talked, or rather, Thomas spilled, words tumbling like the rain outside. The canvases stacked in his Bushwick walk-up, splashed with urban grit and hidden longings. The family back in Iowa who loved him but didn't know him, not really. The gnawing fear that he'd come to the city to bloom, only to wither in its shadow. Christopher listened, really listened, his nods quiet affirmations, his questions probing without prying. It was disarming. This stranger with eyes like autumn leaves, drawing out pieces of Thomas he'd buried deep. Hours blurred, the bar emptying around them. Sal flipped the closed sign with a knowing wink. Outside, the downpour had eased to a drizzle, streetlights haloing puddles like fractured stars. They stepped into the night, shoulders brushing again, this time deliberate. I'm Thomas, he said finally, extending a hand, rain-slick and calloused from brush handles. Christopher. The handshake lingered, thumb grazing palm, a current humming between them. Walk you home? Or wherever. Thomas's laugh was soft, tentative. Lead the way, mystery man. The streets wound north, past brownstones dozing under fire escapes. The city's pulse a distant hum. They talked of everything and nothing. Christopher's cases, white-collar wolves in sheep's suits. Thomas's sketches of graffiti angels and lost boys. Laughter came easier, barriers thinning with each block. At a crosswalk, their hands bumped, and neither pulled away. Fingers laced, tentative, then sure. Thomas's heart hammered. This is reckless. This is real. But the warmth of Christopher's palm chased the chill away. They stopped at Thomas's stoop, a narrow walk-up with peeling paint and dreams taped to the windows. This is me, Thomas said, voice husky, reluctance threading through. Christopher stepped closer, the space between them shrinking to breath. Thomas. It was a whisper, a question, his free hand rising to cup Thomas's jaw, thumb tracing the line of stubble. The kiss was inevitable, slow at first, testing, then deepening like a storm breaking. Lips met, soft and urgent, tasting of whiskey and rain and possibility. Thomas melted into it, hands fisting Christopher's shirt, pulling him nearer. The world narrowed to this heat, hunger, the faint tang of forbidden. They broke apart, foreheads pressed, breaths mingling. I can't, Christopher murmured, even as his body betrayed him, leaning in. I'm married. The word landed like ice water. Thomas recoiled, not far, but enough. Then what the fuck was that? A mistake. The best kind. Christopher's eyes pleaded, raw. God, Thomas. I haven't felt this alive in years. Thomas searched his face, the conflict warring there, the want mirroring his own. Then don't stop. Not yet. But Christopher did, stepping back, the ring on his finger a cold anchor. I have to go. He turned, vanishing into the night, leaving Thomas alone with the echo of lips and the sting of what-ifs. Inside, Thomas slumped against the door, heart racing, the taste of him lingering like smoke. He pulled out his sketchpad, charcoal flying across the page. A silhouette in the rain, hand outstretched, whispering secrets to the dark. It was beautiful, broken, just like the night. Across the river, Christopher drove home too fast, Manhattan's lights blurring through tears he wouldn't name. Elena slept when he slipped in, her back a wall of silk sheets. He showered, scrubbing away the scent of rain and revelation. But the ghost of Thomas's touch clung, a whisper he couldn't silence. In the mirror, his reflection stared back. Successful, stable, straight. But the lie cracked wider, a fault line threatening to swallow him whole. Morning came gray and unrelenting. Thomas dragged himself to the coffee shop, steam from the espresso machine mirroring the fog in his head. Orders blurred. Lattes for harried moms, black coffee for suits like him. But Christopher didn't appear, and the disappointment settled heavy, a bruise blooming slow. By afternoon, Thomas was back in his studio. A cramped corner of the apartment piled with half-finished oils, the air thick with turpentine and unspoken grief. He painted furiously, strokes angry and alive. A man in shadows, reaching for light, the colors bleeding into something achingly tender. It was his best work yet, born of that kiss that almost... His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Coffee? Same place tomorrow. Noon. See. Thomas's breath caught. Temptation, sweet and sharp. He typed back, "You're on." Noon sharp. Christopher pushed through the door of the daily grind, the bell tinkling like a guilty conscience. The place was a hipster haven. Exposed brick, mismatched chairs, the air humming with indie folk and the grind of beans. Thomas was behind the counter, apron tied low on his hips, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms dusted with faint charcoal smudges. He looked up, green eyes flashing surprise, then warmth. Wary, but real. "Large Americano, 2 sugars," Christopher said, sliding cash across the counter, his voice steady despite the tremor in his chest. Up close, in daylight, Thomas was even more disarming. Freckles across his nose like scattered stars, a dimple teasing when he smirked. Coming right up. Thomas's fingers brushed Christopher's as he handed over the cup. Deliberate this time, a spark reignited. "You actually showed." Couldn't stay away. Christopher lingered, ignoring the line forming behind him. "Walk with me? After your shift." Thomas glanced at the clock. 2 hours to go. "Yeah. Meet you outside." The wait was agony. Christopher wandered the block, past bodegas hawking lotto dreams and falafel carts steaming with spice. His mind raced. Elena's calendar packed with galas and golf weekends. Their sex life a polite choreography that left him emptier than before. Last night, he'd lain awake, replaying the kiss. The way Thomas's body fit against his like a missing piece. Terrified him, the ease of it, the rightness. At 41, with a corner office and a mortgage, he wasn't supposed to crave like this. Thomas emerged at 4, shedding his apron like a skin. Flannel untucked over jeans worn soft at the knees. They fell into step. No destination, just the rhythm of boots on sidewalk. Central Park loomed, a green lung in the concrete sprawl. And they veered in, leaves crunching underfoot like brittle promises. "Tell me about you," Thomas said, bumping Christopher's shoulder. "The real you, not the boardroom version." Christopher hesitated, the path winding past joggers and dog walkers, the reservoir shimmering like liquid silver. "Real me? That's a tall order." He exhaled, words spilling slow. "Born in Boston to old money academics, Yale undergrad, Columbia law, check, check, check. But the gaps. The college roommate he'd almost kissed after too many beers. The apps deleted in panic. The vows to Elena that felt more like armor than love. Thomas listened, his silence a bomb. "Sounds like you've been running a marathon in someone else's shoes. More like shackles disguised as loafers." Christopher's laugh was self-deprecating, but his eyes softened on Thomas. The way sunlight caught his curls, turning them to burnished gold. "What about you? Iowa boy in the big city. How's that working out?" Thomas shrugged, kicking a pebble into the grass. "Like trying to paint with watercolors in a hurricane. Dad's a mechanic, Mom's the church organist. They think I'm finding myself. Truth? I'm dodging the part where I admit I'm gay. To them. To me, mostly. The admission hung, vulnerable and electric." Christopher stopped, turning to face him. "That's brave as hell, Thomas. More than I've ever been." "Bullshit. You're here, aren't you?" Thomas's hand found Christopher's, squeezing once, twice. They walked on, fingers entwined now, hidden in the crowd but bold in the quiet spaces between. Days blurred into stolen hours. Coffee turned to lunches at hole-in-the-wall delis, where they'd share pastrami on rye and stories swapped like secrets. Afternoons melted into evenings. Sketching sessions in Christopher's office after hours, Thomas's charcoal tracing the lines of Christopher's face. Strong brow, full lips curved in concentration, while Christopher pored over briefs, stealing glances that lingered too long. One night, after a case win that tasted like ash, Christopher showed up at Thomas's door with Thai takeout and a bottle of cheap red. The apartment was chaos. Canvases leaning like drunken soldiers, a futon piled with blankets, the air alive with possibility. They ate cross-legged on the floor, wine loosening tongues and inhibitions. "You're talented, you know that?" Christopher said, gesturing to a half-finished portrait. A man emerging from fog, eyes alight with quiet fire. "It's like you see the soul before the skin." Thomas flushed, heat pooling low. "Flattery from a hotshot lawyer? Careful, I might believe you." Christopher set his plate aside, shifting closer. "Not flattery. Truth." His hand trailed up Thomas's arm, goosebumps rising in its wake. The kiss started soft, exploratory. Lips brushing, breath sinking. Then ignited, hands roaming with the hunger of the starved. Thomas tugged Christopher down onto the futon, bodies aligning in a tangle of limbs and whispered wants. Clothes shed like confessions. Flannel pooling on the floor, shirt buttons popping in haste. Skin met skin. Thomas's lean muscle against Christopher's broader frame, scars from old falls tracing stories on ribs. It was slow, reverent. Christopher's mouth mapping Thomas's collarbone, eliciting gasps that echoed off the walls. Thomas's fingers threading through salt-streaked hair, arching into every touch. They moved together, a rhythm born of need, sweat-slick and urgent. The world shrinking to gasps and groans, the creak of springs underscoring their symphony. After, they lay entwined, Christopher's head on Thomas's chest, heartbeat a steady drum. "This, us," Christopher murmured, tracing lazy circles on Thomas's hip. "It's more than I deserve." Thomas tilted his chin up, kissing his temple. "Don't say that. We're just two guys figuring it out." But the lie lingered, unspoken. The ring still on Christopher's finger, a phantom weight even in the dark. Weeks deepened the pull. Christopher carved out pockets of time, early mornings before court, late nights feigned as depositions. Elena noticed the distance, her questions sharpening. "You're distracted, Chris. Work, or something else?" He'd deflect with flowers, date nights at Michelin-starred spots where caviar choked down like regret. But home felt hollower, the king-sized bed a vast, empty sea. Thomas, too, wrestled shadows. His art surged. Galleries nibbling now, a small show booked for month's end. But doubt gnawed. What if this is just a fling? What if he chooses her? Friends at the shop teased. "Got a secret boo, Tommy?" He'd grin, deflect, but alone. The fear coiled tight. The breaking point came on a crisp October eve. Leaves carpeting the park in crimson and gold. They'd met by the Bethesda fountain. Thomas with a sketchbook, Christopher with takeout from a food truck. Halal cart chicken, greasy and glorious. Laughter flowed easy, but tension simmered beneath. "I saw your wife today," Thomas said abruptly, sketching absently, lines sharp. "On the news, some charity thing. She looked perfect." Christopher's fork paused midair. "Thomas." "No, it's fine. Really. But it wasn't." The words clawed up, jagged. "Just, how long can we do this? Sneaking around like teenagers, pretending it's not killing us." Christopher set the food down, reaching for his hand. "It's not pretending. It's the most real thing in my life." "Then prove it." Thomas's eyes blazed, vulnerable. "Leave her. Choose us." The silence stretched, broken only by distant traffic. Christopher's face crumpled, torn. "I can't. Not yet. Elena. She's built her world around me. And God, I love you, Thomas. But I'm scared. Of losing everything." The words hung, a confession and a cage. Thomas pulled away, standing abruptly. "Love? That's a hell of a word for half measures." He walked, fast, leaves crunching like crushed glass. Christopher caught up, grabbing his arm. "Wait, please. I need time." Thomas whirled, tears streaking. "Time? I've got nothing but. You've got a wife, a life. What do I get?" Crumbs. They stood there, inches apart, the chasm widening. Finally, Thomas softened, cupping Christopher's face. I don't want to lose you, but I can't be the secret anymore. The kiss that followed was desperate, a dam breaking, salty with tears, fierce with fear. They stumbled to a bench, hidden by willows, hands frantic under coats, reclaiming what words had fractured. It was reckless, raw, the park's hush amplifying every hitch of breath, every murmured plea. But as dusk fell, reality intruded. Christopher's phone rang, Elena's ringtone, insistent. He silenced it, but the spell shattered. I have to go. Thomas nodded, hollow. Yeah, me too. They parted with a brush of lips, a promise unspoken. Alone, Christopher drove home, Elena's smile greeting him at the door. Missed you today. And guilt flooded, thick as fog. That night, he dreamed of Thomas. Green eyes accusing, hands slipping away like sand. Thomas painted till dawn, the canvas a maelstrom of blues and blacks, a heart fractured against the skyline. In the corner, faint, two figures, entwined yet divided, whispering across the void. The show loomed, a beacon and a burden. Invites went out, friends, strangers, and one gold-embossed envelope to Christopher's office. Come see me shine, or don't. T. Christopher stared at it, pulse thundering. The temptation sweet, the fear sharper still. The gallery hummed with the low buzz of New York's art scene. Curators in black turtlenecks sipping Pinot, collectors murmuring appraisals like stock tips. The air scented with expensive perfume and fresh varnish. Thomas stood by his installation, a triptych titled Urban Veins. Canvases pulsing with subway shadows and rooftop confessions, strokes bold and bleeding emotion. He'd poured his soul into it. The kiss in the rain, the park bench fever, the ache of loving in halves. Critics circled, nodding approval. A sale here, a card there. Success tasted bittersweet, hollow without him. Christopher arrived late, slipping in like a shadow, suit rumpled from a trial that dragged into overtime. His eyes found Thomas across the room, locked, and the world narrowed. Green meeting hazel, a current pulling taut. Thomas looked radiant, charcoal button-down hugging his frame, hair artfully tousled, a quiet confidence blooming under the spotlights. Christopher's chest tightened. Mine, the thought irrational, possessive. He wove through the crowd, champagne flute a prop in his grip. Incredible, he said, close enough for Thomas to catch the whiskey on his breath. Liquid courage from a flask in his coat. You captured it. The chaos. The heart. Thomas turned, smile flickering, joy warring with wariness. You came. His voice was soft, for them alone, hand brushing Christopher's in the press of bodies. Wouldn't miss it. Christopher's gaze dropped to Thomas's lips, remembering their taste, the way they parted on pleas. Proud of you. The words hung intimate amid the chatter. Thomas leaned in, murmuring, Meet me out back? In 10. Can't do small talk tonight. Christopher nodded, pulse racing. He milled, deflecting questions about his art consultant guys, but his mind was elsewhere, on the man who'd cracked him open, on the life he was betraying with every stolen breath. Outside, the alley was a sliver of night, dumpsters humming faintly, stars obscured by city glow. Thomas waited, back to the brick, cigarette glowing like a beacon. He wasn't a smoker, not really, just tonight, nerves frayed to threads. You clean up nice, Thomas said, exhaling smoke that curled like doubts. But you look like hell. Rough day. Christopher closed the distance, plucking the cigarette away, grinding it under his heel. Rough everything. His hands framed Thomas's face, thumbs stroking cheekbones. Seeing you in there, it's like you painted us. Hidden in plain sight. Thomas's breath hitched. That's the point. I want the world to see, including you. The kiss ignited fast. Desperate, devouring, Thomas's back hitting the wall with a thud. Hands roamed. Christopher's undershirt, tracing ribs that rose and fell like waves. Thomas's in hair, tugging just enough to elicit a groan. It was fire. Teeth nipping, hips grinding. The alley's chill no match for the heat. God, I need you, Christopher gasped, palms sliding lower, cupping through denim, drawing a whimper that echoed off walls. They might have gone further, right there, reckless, but footsteps crunched gravel. A drunk couple stumbled past the mouth of the alley, laughing oblivious. They froze, breaths ragged, then broke apart, straightening clothes with shaky hands. Close call, Thomas panted, grin crooked. But worth it. Christopher pulled him close, forehead to forehead. Every risk. You're worth every goddamn one. They lingered, whispers trading plans. A weekend away. The Hamptons maybe. A borrowed cabin where clocks didn't tick and rings could come off. Hope flickered, fragile but fierce. But fate, cruel curator, had other strokes. As they re-entered, Elena's voice cut through. Clear, cultured, a blade in silk. Chris? Darling, there you are. She stood by the triptych, glass in hand, blonde waves pinned elegant, dress hugging curves like a second skin. Her eyes flicked from the art to Christopher, then to Thomas, curious, appraising. Who's your friend? Christopher's blood iced. Elena, this is Thomas Hale, the artist. Thomas, my wife, Elena. The word wife landed like a slap. Thomas extended a hand, smile professional, but his eyes, God, his eyes, held a storm, betrayal flickering brief before shuddered. Pleasure. Hope you like the work. Elena's grip was firm, her smile polished. Stunning. Raw, almost voyeuristic, like peeking into someone's diary. She tilted her head, studying Thomas a beat too long. Have we met? You look familiar. Thomas's laugh was easy, forced. Just another face in the crowd, ma'am. The trio chatted surface, art markets, firm mergers, tension coiling invisible. Christopher's arm around Elena's waist felt leaden, possessive reflex masking panic. Thomas excused himself gracefully, vanishing into the throng, but not before a glance that seared. How could you? The drive home was silence, Elena's fingers drumming the dash. Lovely event. Your artist friend. There's something about him. Magnetic. Christopher's knuckles whitened on the wheel. Just talent. She hummed, unconvinced. You light up around talent, Chris. Remember that summer in Nantucket? He did lazy days on the dunes, her laughter like bells. The first time they'd made love under stars. It had been real once. Now, a ghost haunting the man he'd become. Sleep evaded him, Elena's breathing even beside. At dawn he slipped out, texting Thomas. Meet me. Coffee shop, please. Thomas arrived hollow-eyed. No apron today, just jeans and a hoodie, walls up high. Your wife, he started, voice low. She's nice. Perfect, actually. Thomas. No. Save it. He leaned on the counter, eyes hard. I get it. Complicated. But seeing you two? Like watching my own funeral. Christopher reached across, but Thomas jerked back. Don't. Not here. The shop filled, forcing space. Christopher waited, nursing coffee gone cold. When Thomas's break came, they stepped out back. Tobacco-scented alley, dumpsters guardians. I panicked, Christopher admitted, voice cracking. She's part of me, but you're the part one didn't know I was missing. Thomas crossed arms, jaw set. Words, Chris. Always words. I need actions. I know. Christopher stepped closer, desperation raw. I'm talking to her. Tonight. About us. About everything. Thomas's breath caught. Hope warring fear. You mean it. Every syllable. The kiss was tender this time, sealing the vow, lips soft, hands gentle. A promise etched in touch. But vows fracture easy. That evening, over candlelit salmon at their favorite bistro, Christopher's resolve crumbled. Elena's eyes, blue, trusting, pinned him as he stumbled through half-truths. Work stress, late nights. I think I need space. Her fork paused, face paling. Space? Chris, what's really going on? He couldn't say it. I'm in love with a man. Your husband is a lie. Instead, just time to think. She nodded, tears glistening. Okay, think, but don't shut me out. Guilt clawed as he drove to Thomas's, the brownstone a sanctuary. They fell into bed, bodies a refuge. Slow, worshipful Christopher mapping every inch like a map to absolution. Thomas arched beneath him, gasps a litany. Love you, need you. Climax crashed gentle, waves lapping shores, leaving them driftwood tangled. Morning brought Elena's text. Counseling? For us? Christopher deleted it, pulling Thomas closer. But the delete felt like erasure, a step toward the cliff. Winter crept in, snow dusting the city like powdered sugar on wounds. Their affair deepened. Weekends holed up in lofts, walks in the village hand in hidden hand, whispers of forever amid the chill. Thomas's show sold out, buzz building. Christopher's cases won on autopilot, his focus fractured. Yet cracks spiderwebbed. Elena hired a PI subtle at first, just to ease my mind. Photos trickled in. Christopher and Thomas at a diner, laughing. Alley shadows blurring into embrace. She confronted him in their kitchen. Prints splayed like evidence. Who is he? Her voice shattered, not anger, grief. How long, Chris? He sank to a chair, world tilting. Elena, I'm so sorry. He's everything. The divorce papers came swift, Elena's signature a guillotine. She moved to her sister's in Connecticut, leaving the brownstone echoing. Christopher grieved the end, but freedom bloomed tentative. Text to Thomas. It's done. We're free. Joy exploded. Dinner at home, no watches ticking. Lazy Sundays sketching nudes, Christopher's body Thomas's muse. Love settled, sweet as honey. Temptation sated in open light. But betrayal's shadow lingered. Elena's lawyer called. Adultery clause. He'll take you for half. Christopher waved it off. Money meant nothing. Until the tabloids sniffed. Power couple splits. Law king leaves queen for mystery man? Leaks from the PI, Elena's pain weaponized. Thomas saw the headlines first, scrolling his phone mid-sketch. Chris, it's everywhere. Christopher pulled him close. We'll weather it. Together. But doubt seeded. Calls from colleagues. Discretion man. Gossip at the firm. Thomas's family rang. Mom's voice trembling. Son? What's this in the paper? A man? Thomas hung up, tears hot. They're ashamed. Of me. Because of us. Christopher held him through the night. But the fear of wanting more, coiled tighter, a serpent in Eden. Spring unfurled reluctant in the city. Cherry blossoms tentative against the gray, mirroring the fragile thaw in their lives. The scandal simmered, headlines fading to footnotes, but whispers persisted. At Christopher's firm, partners' pats on the back laced with side-eye. In Thomas's art circles, envy twisted to judgment. Sleeping his way to sales? The world watched, waiting for the bloom to wilt. They armored up. Public dates bold. Brunch in Soho, arms linked. Gallery openings where Thomas's hand rested possessive on Christopher's lower back. Love was their rebellion, sweet defiance in stolen kisses on subway platforms. Lazy mornings with coffee and crosswords, bodies entwined like vines. Yet the serpent stirred. Elena resurfaced, not vengeful, but broken. A chance meeting at a mutual friend's fundraiser. Her dress simple black, eyes shadowed. Chris, she said, voice steady. Can we talk? For closure. He agreed, meeting her at a neutral cafe in Midtown. Formica tables, fluorescent hum, a confessional devoid of charm. She looked smaller, fragility cracking her poise. I loved you, still do in a way. But him, does he make you happy? Christopher nodded, throat tight. More than I knew possible. She exhaled, tears brimming. Then hold on to it. Don't let fear win like it did for us. Her hand covered his, brief, forgiving. Be free. The absolution lifted weights he hadn't named. He texted Thomas. Dinner out. Celebrating us. The restaurant was intimate. Candlelit corners, jazz murmuring low. A place for toasts to futures. Thomas arrived glowing, new commission in hand. A mural for a queer youth center, walls alive with stories like theirs. "It's us," he said, eyes shining. "Hidden no more." They ordered oysters, briny and bold, wine flowing like confessions. Laughter bubbled, reminiscing the alley kiss, the park fever, the night Christopher first stayed till dawn. Under the table, ankles hooked, a silent vow. But mid-meal, Christopher's phone lit. Unknown number, voicemail waiting. He stepped out, alley cool against flushed skin. The voice was Elena's lawyer, clipped. "She's contesting the settlement. Claims emotional distress. And there's evidence. Photos. Of you two. Intimate ones." Christopher's blood chilled. "What evidence?" "You know what? The PI was thorough. If it goes to court." He hung up, nausea roiling. Betrayal, not Elena's, but his own naivety. Back inside, Thomas's brow furrowed. "Everything okay?" "Fine." Lie bitter on his tongue. "Just work." But the serpent whispered, "Protect him. Or lose him." Nights deepened the rift. Christopher withdrew. Late at the office, poring over depositions, avoiding the brownstone's warmth. Thomas noticed, sketches sharpening to accusations. Figures turning away, backs broad with secrets. "Talk to me," Thomas pleaded one evening, cornering him in the kitchen, pasta boiling over on the stove. "You're vanishing. Again." Christopher sighed, setting down his briefcase. "It's the divorce. Messy details. Nothing you need." "Bullshit." Thomas's voice cracked, green eyes flashing hurt. "I'm in this. Or was that just pillow talk?" "You're everything." Christopher pulled him close, but the embrace felt strained, armor clinking. "I just don't want to drag you down." "Too late." Thomas pushed back, tears welling. "You think I can't handle it? That I'm some fragile kid?" "No." But the words failed, the fear of wanting more, of the world stripping it away, choking him. They made up in bed, bodies a bridge. Urgent, forgiving, Christopher's mouth tracing apologies on thighs, Thomas's fingers digging crescents into shoulders. Pleasure crested fierce, a temporary dam, but dawn brought the crack wider. The court date loomed, a guillotine shadow. Christopher met with his own shark, silver-haired, no nonsense. "Settle quick. Those photos? They'd paint you as the villain. Her the victim." "Villain?" Christopher laughed, hollow. "I was suffocating. Laws don't care about souls, son. They care about optics." Optics. The word festered. He drove to Thomas's show, a pop-up in Chelsea, walls ablaze with queer icons reimagined. Audre Lorde fierce in neon, Marsha P. Johnson dancing through riots. Thomas worked the crowd, charisma electric, but his eyes sought Christopher's, anchoring. After, in the green room, mirrors and makeup stains, they collided. "Missed you?" Thomas breathed, hands sliding under jacket. "Missed this." Christopher kissed him deep, lifting him onto a vanity, legs wrapping waist. It was frantic, zippers rasping, gasps muffled against necks, the mirror reflecting their urgency. Sweat slick, entangled, a portrait of want. Thomas cried out soft, climax shuddering through, Christopher following with a groan that tasted of release and regret. Panting, Thomas cupped his face. "Whatever it is, we face it. Together." Christopher nodded, but the photos burned in his pocket. Copies from the lawyer, grainy but damning. Alley embrace, park bench shadows, hotel doorway blurred in passion. Exposure's threat, Elena's pain amplified. The night before court, Elena called. "Chris, don't fight it. The settlement, take the hit. For him. For you." Her voice broke him. "Why? After everything?" "Because I see it now. You were never mine. Not fully." Pause, soft. "Go live your truth." He settled at dawn, half the savings, the brownstone hers. Liberation bought with coin, but the cost lingered. Trust eroded, like rain on fresco. Thomas waited at home, coffee brewing, worry etched. "It's over." "Yeah." Christopher collapsed into him, burying face in neck. We can breathe now. But Thomas stiffened, pulling back. What did it cost? Money, pride, lie by omission. The photos, he'd burned them, but the ash smoked. Summer scorched in, humidity thick as unspoken fears. Their love sweetened in the heat. Beach days in Coney, cotton candy melting on tongues. Rooftop barbecues with Thomas's artist friends, Christopher grilling steaks, laughter chasing doubts. He proposed casual. One evening on the fire escape, city sprawled below. Move in? For real. Thomas's yes was a kiss, fierce and full. Boxes packed, lives merged. The brownstone traded for Thomas's walk-up expanded, canvases mingling with law tomes, a bed big enough for two. But the serpent struck autumnal. Elena's closure gift. A package to the door, innocuous manila. Inside, a letter, elegant script. Happiness, Chris. You've earned it. And tucked beneath. A single photo, the clearest yet. Them in the park, lips locked, love laid bare. Thomas found it first, rifling mail. His face drained, then flushed fury. You knew? All this time. Christopher froze in the doorway. Thomas. How many? How long have you been protecting me from your mess? Thomas hurled the photo, glass shattering on tile. I'm not a dirty secret to shield. You're not. Christopher lunged, grabbing wrists. It was to protect us. From the vultures. Us? Or you? Tears streamed, Thomas wrenching free. I thought we were past hiding. We are. Desperation clawed. Elena sent it. A goodbye. I settled to end it clean. Clean. Thomas laughed. Broken. Your ex waving porn of us like a white flag? That's your clean. The fight raged, words weapons. Thomas's accusations of paternalism, Christopher's defenses crumbling to please. I love you. Can't you see? I'd burn it all for you. Then why does it feel like you're still holding back? Thomas sank to the floor, sobs racking. The fear. It's winning. Christopher knelt, gathering him close, but Thomas went rigid, then limp. Surrender, not yield. I need space. To think. The door clicked shut that night, Thomas crashing at a friend's. Christopher paced. Whiskey his companion, ghosts circling. Elena's forgiveness a curse, the photos glare accusing. Dawn found him on the stoop, calling voicemail silence. Days stretched to week, texts unanswered. Christopher threw himself into work, cases blurring. But sleep evaded, dreams of green eyes fading to black. Thomas painted alone, strokes violent. Fractured hearts, whispers silenced. A love story torn it seems. The confrontation came unannounced. Thomas at the firm, sketchpad under arm, eyes storm-tossed. Receptionist buzzed him up, pity in her smile. Christopher's office overlooked the harbor, papers avalanche on desk. You look like shit, Thomas said, closing the door. Pot, kettle. Christopher stood, space between a chasm. Missed you. Thomas set the pad down, flipping to a new piece. Them whole, embracing on a cliff, city at feet, no shadows. I painted this. If we fight for it. Christopher traced the lines, tears blurring. I want that, more than air. Then let go. Thomas stepped close, hands on chest. The fear, the past, all of it. The kiss was salvation. Slow, sealing, bodies remembering. Against the desk, then floor they reclaimed. Shirts shed, skin fever hot. Christopher's mouth reverent on scars, Thomas's legs locking ankles. It built languid, then torrid, thrusts deep, cries muffled in shoulders, release a flood washing clean. After, tangled on carpet, Thomas whispered, no more secrets. Promise. Christopher's ring finger, bare now, traced Thomas's. Just us. But promises test in tempests. Winter's Eve, a call from Iowa. Thomas's father, voice gravel. Boy, what's this nonsense in the news? Some man? Come home. Sort yourself. Thomas hung up, face ashen. They want me to choose. Family or this. Christopher held him, but the serpent hissed anew. More to lose now. The holidays loomed like storm fronts, tinsel glittering false cheer over fractures. Thomas's family doubled down. Mom's emails pleading prayer chains, Dad's voicemails curt with ultimatums. Real men don't parade like that, son. The Midwestern chill seeped through lines, freezing Thomas's resolve. He paced the apartment, phone clutched like a grenade. I can't go back, he told Christopher one night, snow tapping windows like impatient fingers. Not like this. Half out, lying through teeth. Christopher brewed tea chamomile, soothing as lies. Then don't. Stay here. With me. Thomas's laugh was sharp. Easy for you. Boston Brahmin, cushy life. My world's cornfields and casseroles. They raised me to fit a box. I'm the crack in it. You're their son. Christopher pulled him down onto the couch, blanket cocooning. Show them the whole you. Or, we visit together. As us. The idea terrified, thrilled. Thomas searched hazel eyes, finding steel. You'd do that? Face the firing squad. For you? Arm in arm. Christmas came white-knuckled. The flight to Des Moines was turbulence incarnate. Hands clasped white through clouds. Thomas's childhood home squatted modest. Rambler with wraparound porch, nativity glowing on lawn, air thick with pine and pot roast. Mom enveloped Thomas in hugs scented sage, Dad's handshake firm, eyes sliding past Christopher's offered grip. This your colleague? Dad grunted over eggnog by the fire. More than that, sir. Christopher's voice steady, arm around Thomas's waist. Acclaim, quiet bold. Silence blanketed, broken by Mom's clatter in the kitchen. Dad's face reddened. What the hell's that mean? Thomas stepped forward, heart hammering. It means I love him, Dad. And he loves me. That's the truth you've been dodging. The eruption was biblical. Dad's bellows of disgrace. Bible thumped on coffee table. Mom's sobs from the hall. Words flew shrapnel. Fairy tales don't fly here. Lost your damn mind in that Sodom city. Christopher stood sentinel, hand in Thomas's, absorbing blows meant for both. Enough. Thomas's voice cut, steel forged. You taught me right from wrong. This, loving honestly, that's right. Hiding, that's the sin. Dad deflated, chair creaking under defeat. Mom emerged, eyes red, but arms open. Just, want you happy, Tommy. If he makes you so. The truce was fragile. Awkward carols, strained small talk, but it held. New Year's, back in New York, they toasted on the rooftop. To truths told. Spring bloomed fuller, scars fading to stories. Thomas's mural unveiled. Walls alive with diverse faces, his own among them, Christopher's handprint pressed in wet paint. The dedication. For the whispers that become roars. Christopher's firm adapted, partners grumbling, but winds spoke louder. He took pro bono cases. Queer rights, asylum for lovers fleeing hate. Elena sent a card, thrilled for you both. Found my own spark. Closure sealed. Yet temptation lingered, subtle. A new case, high-profile client with eyes that lingered too long on Christopher's ringless hand. Flattery, late drinks, innocent until Thomas saw the text. Great night. Again soon. Confrontation brewed gentle, over takeout tie. Who's Alex? Thomas asked casual but eyes sharp. Christopher sighed. No evasion. Client. Pushy. But nothing. Swear it. Thomas's voice trembled. Old fears surfacing. Swear. Christopher knelt absurd on the rug, but earnest. You're my more. Always. The makeup was laughter-laced. Wrestling playful. Kisses peppered with idiot-s. Bodies tumbling to bed in a heap of want. Love-making unhurried. Fingers interlacing. Gazes locked. Christopher entering slow. Thomas's moans a melody. Peaks crested shared. Breaths sinking in afterglow. Summer's heat wave tested anew. Thomas's big break. A residency in L.A., 6 months painting sun-bleached dreams. Come with? He asked, packed bag by the door. Christopher hesitated, firm anchors, cases stacking. Can't. Not yet. But visits, weekends, the distance stretched souls. Calls crackled with Miss U.S., packages of sketches and suits arriving like lifelines. But temptation crept. LA's glitter, admirers orbiting Thomas's rising star, galleries, after parties, a sculptor with easy smiles and shared vices. One night, video call flickering, Thomas slurred slight. Met this guy, talented, thinks I'm a god. Christopher's gut twisted. Yeah, and just talk. But the dodge echoed old patterns. Trust frayed, calls shortening. Christopher drowned in work, a deposition win hollow. Elena texted, heard about LA. Brave. Miss our talks? Innocent outreach, but the serpent twisted. See? Options. The breaking came mid-fall. Thomas home early, surprise visit, bursting in with airport roses. But the bed, unmade, sheets tangled, and Christopher's phone, buzzing. Alex. Tonight? Your place. Discretion assured. Thomas dropped the flowers, petals scattering like bloodless wounds. Discretion? Again? Christopher woke from couch nap, bleary. Thomas. It's not. Save it. Thomas's voice ice. I fly across country, and you're texting your pushy client? For hookups? Meeting. Work. But the photo selfie from Alex, shirtless, winking, damned him. You promised no secrets. Thomas roared, bag hurled at wall. I gave up family city for us. And you? Crumbs again. Christopher lunged, grabbing. I was lonely. You gone. Glowing in lights, admirers everywhere. I feared losing you. So you cheat? With him. Betrayal raw, Thomas shoved free. We're poison, Chris. Wanting more. It destroys. The fight devolved, accusations hurled, tears weapons. Thomas stormed out, to a hotel, silence deafening. Christopher called Elena, voice breaking. I fucked up. Again. Her reply calm. Then fix it. Or let go. Dawn found Christopher at the hotel, pounding doors till security loomed. Thomas opened, hollowed. Go away. No. Christopher shouldered in, shutting world out. I canceled Alex. Months ago. That text? Old. I kept it to tempt myself away from you. Stupid. Wrong. Thomas sank to bed, head in hands. Why? Fear. Christopher knelt, echoing months back. Of us being too good. Too breakable. But losing you? That's the real break. Silence stretched. Then Thomas looked up, eyes searching. Prove it. No halves. All in. Christopher pulled a velvet box from pocket. Ring simple, silver band etched with whispers. Intertwined hearts. Marry me. Here. Now. Vows no veils. Thomas's breath hitched, laugh bubbling through tears. You bastard. Yes. They eloped that week. City clerk, witnesses strangers. Sal the bartender, Elena beaming witness. Rings exchanged, kisses sealed under fluorescent hum. The reception, the rusty anchor, toasts raucous, Springsteen on jukebox. Years wove on, threads strong. Thomas's galleries international, Christopher's firm queer-led. Conflicts came. Fights over forgotten birthdays. Iowa visits thawing slow. But love deepened, roots burrowing past fear. One eve, rooftop under stars, same as the proposal sketch. Thomas leaned into Christopher, city lights winking complicit. We made it. Christopher kissed his temple. Whispers to roars. And in the quiet, no fear remained. Just them, two hearts entwined, wanting more. Forever. In the end, it wasn't perfection, but humanity. Flawed, fierce, achingly real. A love story not of endings, but echoes. Whispers carried on winds, sweet and unending.